Oh, and how do you pronounce your last name?
Wike like Mike.
Wike like Mike. That is how we are starting today's live. Welcome, everybody. Claire Wasserman here, founder and author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform, global community, and as you can tell, a book that is all about helping women earn more and live better. And as part of that, I have been inviting amazing coaches to join me on these lives to share their expertise because I know they also believe in our mission of helping women earn more and live better. And Erin Wike, did I get that right? God damn it. Yeah. Okay. Gosh.
Yeah.
White like Mike, Erin, she is one of those coaches. She is the founder of Café Con Resume, which is what it sort of sounds like. It is a resume service, but beyond resume, I think what it really is about, and Erin will tell us more, it's really helping you tell the best story of yourself. And for all those job seekers out there, you want to be listening to this. And even if you're not looking for a job, you still want to be listening to this because our ability to tell our story is so important in every aspect of our life. That is how we connect with people. That is how we get what we want. But Erin, you have lots of experience in a lot of different ways. I believe you're also a recruiter or have been a recruiter. So if you could give us more information on sort of who you are and what you do and maybe why you do it, I think that would be a great place to begin.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Claire. And real quick before I do mine, I want to thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. And thank you for some advice. You may not even remember giving in April. I caught one of your lives and you were talking about doing things and learning and not everything being perfect. And you prompted me. That was just like the little push I needed to launch my new job search collective class, which I did in May. So thank you for that. So a little bit about my background. So I think I'm kind of a traditional person. I went to college, got my degree in advertising. I moved to Chicago and worked in corporate marketing, advertising, and PR. After about 12 years, unfortunately, I was let go and I took a step back and was like, do I like what I'm doing? Do I want to proceed with this path? I had made pretty decent salary and was in a pretty good place professionally. But that layoff allowed me to kind of take a breath and say, do I want to continue down this path? And the reality was I liked what I was doing in marketing and advertising, but I really liked more about the people I was working with. And so I went into recruiting for marketing and creative professionals. And at that point in my professional life, I got to see the other side of the table. So I had been a job seeker for, 12 years, and now I was getting to see what it was like when clients were looking to hire our talent. So now what I do, fast forward, I work in career services and higher education, and I help undergrads with their pursuits of professional internships and full-time, as well as employers that want to recruit amazing young talent. But on the side, I do Café Con Resume. And hopefully this resonates with a lot of you that I launched my business in 2017. I was pregnant with my first and only child and realized that I probably couldn't afford childcare, even though my husband and I were both employed. And so we talked about what could I do we talked about what if the world switched to a gig economy and what could I sell? And my husband's like, well, you often help your friends with their resumes. So long story short, he helped me build my website on my maternity leave, and I launched Café Con Resume really just as something nice to do outside of work, make a little extra money, pay for childcare. And here we are a little about 5.5 years later, and Café Con Resume is her own business running beautifully. It is something that allows me to be myself, help others, be my own boss, run things. I turn it up when I need to. I turn it down when I need to because I am still working full time and I actually still really love my job.
Yeah.
So with Café Con Resume, what I'm out to do is help you see the other side of the table. So what is someone looking for or looking at when they see your resume? How can you now reflect that on your resume? And I know that working on your resume is excruciating. Nobody likes doing it. It is oftentimes we don't look at it until we're in emergency mode and we want to send it to someone. So a lot of my clients will hire me because they just feel stuck and they don't know where to go, what to put on their resume. I can look at it quickly, right? I'm an objective person and I can say what it should have on it for someone to want to hire them. Funny enough, I mean, with my business growing and changing and evolving and me as myself, I've joined, I've created a group in Austin for small business owners. I have a friend that we help women that are building out their freelance or their own businesses. Long story short, what I have found is that most women are really humble. And when I talk to them on the original consult, they'll say, well, I just kind of sort of did this and their tone is even real chill. And I'm like, okay, well, can I see your resume and we'll go from there. And honestly, Claire, most of the time I get their resume and I'm like, holy beep, like these women are amazing. The things that they're doing in their professional world, the things that they're doing volunteering, the things that they're doing. I mean, it's like incredible the way they're helping their communities or even their children if they have children. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I realize a lot of it is a confidence issue. And so for me, it is a little bit about an honor to get to review people's resumes, but also help them. Let's take out that excruciating, painful part because you don't like doing it. And let's tell your story. And so, kind of what we're going to be talking about today is how can you do that? And I want to say it's going to sound simple because I mean, I've seen hundreds or thousands of resumes at this point. I've lost track. Yes, there's still very standard Word documents, black and white, right? But if you can share the impact or the value that you've added while at an organization, and this applies to you too if you own your own business, right? What have you done that has made a positive impact? That's what a future client or employer wants to see. The challenge is we women will try to explain the role or will describe what we were doing, maybe tasks. We can honestly a person can usually gather that by your title or even your product or service. So we don't need these big, long explanations. We need to know what did you do or what was the value add that you have. So that's one thing I want to share from sharing your story. And I'll stop there in case Claire's that kind of align what we're talking about today.
Perfect. That was awesome. That was awesome. And I also experienced the same aha moment with a lot of women where they're like, yeah, I did this thing. It wasn't that big of a deal. Or I'm like, let me tell you, I'm terrible at that. Like there was one woman I was working with who is a CPA and really just sort of takes for granted her natural skills. And I said, I failed statistics 3 times. And even just hearing what you do for a living is making me stressed out. Like, do not take it. It is special what you do because I am telling you, I cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of helping folks identify their skills and then tell the story, or maybe even just walk me through if I were your client and in our first interaction together, kind of what would be those initial steps you would take for me to be able to identify and articulate my story?
Yeah, it's a great question. And that's a great point too. So the other thing is if you're out here and wherever you're at today, you want to switch gears, maybe you want to go into a different industry, do a different job. Maybe you want to level up. Maybe you like what you're doing, but you want to get to the next role. You're kind of figuring out what are my transferable skills. Those are keywords that I'm sure you've heard at this point. There's lots of noise out there. There's lots of noise, lots of advice, and there's actually lots of incredible career coaches, resume advice. I mean, I'm getting it everywhere, right? I can see it anywhere I go, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. The thing I've thought about, what I think to quiet the noise, is that you are looking to others to tell you what you can do. And there's got to be some balance of you telling us what you can do. So identifying your transferable skills is similar to what you were talking about, the CPA. Maybe she doesn't love it, but she's good at it. Mm-hmm. So could she think about what is she good at? Is she good at explaining to women business owners about how important it is to have their books, their accounting in line, to track their, is she good at that? Maybe that's more her transferable skill is teaching and education. Is there something she could do with that excites her, right? So I talk with my clients about what is it that you like that you're doing or projects that you really enjoy doing, and then we can extrapolate the transferable skills. And they're going to be simple in the sense if you did a Google search for action verbs by skill set, right, and got a bunch of categories: communication, teamwork, organization, time management. Those are all we all have those no matter what jobs or roles we're doing. And now who could hire us for those skills? That's what I think people struggle with is, let's say I've been doing something and maybe I don't want to keep doing the same thing. Okay, ask yourself, what do you like about what you've been doing? Can we identify what are other roles or places that need those skills? So let me give an example. There's lots of teachers looking to transition right now.
Yeah.
A lot of them will look to go into educational technology, learning and development. And they're like, okay, how do I do that? And so we will find maybe 1, 2, 3 job descriptions that they really like that are usually in a corporate environment or an educational technology company. And I will outline for them what are they asking for from skill sets. And then we'll go back to their resume and we'll demonstrate that. there's a little bit of a different speak, right? So you may use something in a classroom setting differently than you'd use in the corporate world. And so we'll modify that slightly. We're never lying or we're never exaggerating. We're using kind of the same verbiage to show that transferable skill. Now the question becomes, what can I do? And I've been seeing this a lot lately and sadly with all the layoffs happening, people just go on their LinkedIn and they're like, oh, I got laid off. If anyone knows of anything, let me know. Okay, we all want to help you, but you're going to have to be a little more specific. And what are you looking to do next? Are you looking to stay in that same role that you were doing, just maybe somewhere else? Are you looking to make a switch? Can you be a little more specific, even if it's location based? I know that lots of things are remote now, but are you open to stay? Is it in your metro city? Is it you're looking to try? You get where I'm going with this? Like, you have to be more specific because people can't help you. And I also see a lot of us want to help people. But as simple as it is, we want to help people. And I want to encourage you or anyone watching, like, all of us are helping people in all kinds of ways. It's really beautiful. So what is it that lights you up? What excites you? And how are you using that to help others? Mm-hmm. And also, I think patience with ourselves. We think we have to know it all, which is also what I see with women in my clients a lot. No, we don't have to know everything. You know a lot. And of course you want a new opportunity so you can continue learning and evolving and growing. And so one of the things I found for myself is if I'm in a role that I'm kind of like, is this for me? If I stop myself and ask, what do I want to learn and grow in this role? I swear it's like the universe magically aligns and answers and starts giving me opportunities. And so lately I have identified I wanted to really work on my facilitation skills. I love presenting. I love talking. But I was like, I don't know, facilitating is different. You're not lecturing, you're guiding and encouraging. And all of a sudden I had this amazing opportunity through work to do a training. I did the job search collective through Café Con Resume. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I found that to be really, I think, a gem for people of the balance of, yes, getting advice from others because they're going to be helpful, but also kind of knowing what lights you up as well.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about here is connection to your intuition and being able to see the difference between kind of the insecurity and the intuition, that they're not the same thing, that the insecurity is really coming from other voices and being able to sort of parse out that. So I'm curious, do you have any kind of practice or just tips on how to do that self-reflection? I mean, I would say something that you already mentioned is kind of like, well, what lights me up, right? Like that's a good place to begin.
Yeah.
Maybe for somebody who's in a very demotivated place, they're not even sure. Because I have worked with those people who are like, I don't even remember the last time I felt, quote, alive or lit up. We were going back to like childhood, which is not that might sound like, oh shit, we got to go way that back. You actually have a lot of fabulous clues in childhood that you can piece together. Yeah. So I am curious, beyond that sort of prompt, how would you recommend folks reconnect with that part of themselves?
And thank you for asking that, because it's something I think about too. If you think about generational research and what we all have been raised thinking or being told, I think it started around, so I'm Gen X, just barely, and around millennials started getting beat over the head of like, find your passion, find your passion, find your passion.
So much
and
pressure.
I think because I'm a Gen X, but I'm just barely a Gen X. I was raised obviously by baby boomers. I think that is key to being happy, right? You want to be doing something you love and you enjoy. You have to match up your likes, what work demand is out there. So we do go back, Claire. We go back all the way back to our experiences and experience, whatever we experienced growing up and what we saw around us as potential job opportunities. So activities to help yourself. And thank you for asking this, because you're so right. I work with a lot of people that do feel really stuck and frankly burn out, maybe with what they're doing. I would say the simplest thing is sitting there and doing a journal entry and like maybe set a timer for 10 minutes and don't judge yourself. Just write out everything you like or love. And it could be work and personal. So it could be as silly as like, I like driving around in the summer with the windows down and the music turned up. What does that have to do with work? I don't know, but I love doing it, right? And then also maybe you say some things about work and set a timer for 10 minutes. And this is related to a Life of Yes workshop that Saya Hillman does out of Chicago that I've done several times. That's a simple. That's what led me to go into recruiting, to be honest. I went to her house, did the activity. I was like, oh, I want to work with these people. Anyways, another one is if you wanted to spend a little more time on your investment, I guess, is Clifton Strengths is a really great test you can take to identify your top 5 strengths. And then if you're a research nerd or you like digging into the details, they will tell you some recommended careers that match like your top strengths. And their whole thing with Clifton Strengths, and it's research based by Gallup, their whole thing is that it's easier and better to spend our time on our strengths than trying to build up our weaknesses. And then there's things like Myers-Briggs. I know people watching some people are very critical of Myers-Briggs. Is it legit? But it does give you kind of your personality traits and potential careers that align with that. And then there's one called DISC assessment, DISC. Also a quiz that's going to pop back out your communication style. And you may say, well, okay, Erin, what does that tell me about work? Once you know your communication style and others, it's kind of fun to see maybe what you're good at because of how you like to communicate. What I mean by that is, are you a leader, a teacher? And not everyone has to be, you know? Those are 3 that just rattle off the top that I do in my job search collective. That's our first week, is because we want to identify what is driving people and excites them so that once we update their resume and then we do LinkedIn and then we get to the interview stage, they are speaking their story and they're able to tell and connect dots. But some of that comes through experiences, right? Like we are told, find your passion, find your passion. What if you have a job you hate? Honestly, isn't that just as much of a gift? Because now you're being told what you don't want to do. So if I absolutely hated X job, then I'm going to not continue looking for jobs in that industry or that role. But we feel like we disappoint. I don't know about you. I can't speak for everyone. I have felt disappointed in myself. How did you not like that job? You thought you liked it from the interview. You thought it's a learning lesson, but I think you're only able to do that after you have several years of experience. You can start to reflect and be grateful for those opportunities. But when you're younger, it does feel like a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
everything's information, everything's information. It's just a question of how do you filter it and then leverage it? How do you find the opportunity within the information? Quick question though about impact, because that was something you brought up before. And I get a lot of women who are like, all right, I know that I need to be quantifying my impact and the story that I tell, but the kind of job that I had or have doesn't lend itself so easily to that, right? Like I'm not in sales or, I quite frankly don't know how I impact the business bottom line.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get that a lot. What might be some guiding questions or ways that they can sort of reframe how they're approaching it or, to gather that information and then to tell the story around.
Yeah. And I would actually argue that when you're younger, you don't really know the impact because you're taking in so much other information or learning about that role or that industry. So you're just like, what? I was just doing my job. So I would say not every single resume bullet has to have, increased revenue by 30% or sold $30,000. No, but think about, did you implement a new process at work? Did you bring in new clients or identify a new opportunity? Did you create training materials? Maybe once you'd been there a few years, you trained someone younger than you. These are questions to ask yourself about what did your work do to, again, going back to that, what was your work giving a positive impact to the organization? Because ideally companies want to hire employees that are going to make positive impact, right? Now, that's going to be different than if you're your own business owner. You are the owner. But maybe if you could just brainstorm for a second, like if I were to hire someone to bring them on to work with me, for example, Café Con Resume, if I was going to hire someone to help me with resume writing, what would I need to see from that person? And I would love to see that they have done editing or they've done resume reviews or they've volunteered to do resume reviews, or maybe they've given a workshop. I'm going to need to see proof, right? So they're going to need to show me like a before and after. So this gets into another arena. In addition to your resume, do you have any work samples that you could share? And it's really dependent, it doesn't always have to be public. It doesn't always have to be things published on LinkedIn, but do you have them at the ready for either an application or an interview? And I know that's not kind of what we're talking about today, because it's like the whole thing is, I look at it as like how do I word this? It's a package. There's your resume, there's your LinkedIn, there's your interview skills, there's your negotiation skills, there's all that. It's all together. It's not just the resume. But the reason why I feel so strongly about the resume is once I can work with clients to get it updated, they now somehow have a little bit more confidence, sit up a little bit straighter, and can speak a little bit more eloquently to what impact, the positive impacts that they've had. So that's kind of why we're talking today about the resume, but it does all kind of go together.
Sure, for sure. Any client anecdotes that are top of mind where, somebody came to you and they were at a certain level and you were able to get them to see themselves differently or get the job? And yeah, I didn't prep you on that.
This is where me being humble comes out, right? So I've been really, really lucky in that people come to me. I've gotten people jobs, into Google. I've gotten people jobs, teachers transitioning, making the move into ed tech. I don't know. It's so weird. It's like almost as soon as they tell me kind of what they think they want to do, luckily my brain can like connect things. And I ask for, can you send me 1 to 3 job postings that interest you? Because then I really can start to see, I can help, like my brain can match that to their resume. I don't know. It's hard to explain. So anecdotes, I think a lot of them just really needed an objective person to make the edits and recommendations. I think they felt stuck. And it was almost like I was able to clear the clouds and help them out. And I feel really lucky. Yeah, I feel really lucky to be able to do that because honestly, if I could teach everyone how to do their own resume, I would love that. I don't necessarily want to edit everybody's resume. Let's be real. It's not like it's fun. It kind of feels like a grad school project for me, but if I can be focused and do it, I don't mind. But, I have a full-time job. I have a child. I have a lot of other things. So that's sort of where I'm looking to go with Café Con Resume is how do you teach others? Mm-hmm. And honestly, right now, Claire, I'm in the listening mode from clients. Like, I don't know that you can teach others to be as objective. I think it's unfair. Like we talk about ego and intuition. I think we all have the negative committee in our head. And so if someone gives me their resume to work on, I don't have that negative committee in my head. Right. I can make the edits for them. So anyways, I'm working on that. I'm trying to figure out if there's ways I can teach people. And I do think there are ways to teach the tactics, but I also understand that sometimes people just want to pay me to do it. Like, it's just a relief for them. It's like paying someone to clean your house. It's like, just do it. I can't be bothered,
I mean, I think some unsolicited advice on that would be, and I'm sure you've thought of this / might already be doing it, but checklists. So it's like, all right, here's the general framework, and whether it's written down or you in a pre-recorded video or a live session, but then it's okay, here's this checklist of, is it formatted like this? Am I using sort of action verbs? Is everything quantified to the bottom line in some capacity with here, like 3 examples of how you can do that? And so checklist. So they at least are getting that instant assurement, yes, I did assurance. Wow, it's been a long day already and it's only noon. But that kind of checklist people love. We only have a few minutes left. So I actually want to transition to the question that I ask all coaches that come on here, which is, what do you believe are the fundamental elements or one element that in order to be your own biggest champion, right? So I would define that as probably self-advocate, right? In work, money, life in general, what's that element or elements that, you would recommend people begin cultivating to make sure that they really are their best advocate?
I feel like it's going to sound cliche, and I'm sure everyone thinks this, but I really do think that everything is about love. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can figure out who you love and what you love, and you can really give your energy to those things, I do think we are happier people. Are we able to do that all the time, every day? No. I mean, there's going to be things we have to do. We're adults, right? But I really think that from, I think about we as women, the choices that we have vary so drastically from even our grandmothers. And I know my grandmother lived a very simple life and I admire her. And I know she would say that it's all about love and, very important to love your family and your friends, but also you spend a lot of time at work. So hopefully you love what you're doing. I know that's not always possible. And so I don't want to be cliche, but I think if you can identify what you love, what lights you up, we talked about, that's really, it's up to us, each of us, to do that. No one else can do that for us.
Fabulous. I totally agree. And whether or not it's a cliche for a reason. Tell us, where can we find you, follow you, and most importantly, pay you?
Yeah, thank you. So I am on Café Con Resume on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, although I'm not that great at TikTok. My website is cafeconresume.com. I do have a webinar on Ladies Get Paid. If y'all are on Ladies Get Paid, you can find a webinar of mine, tips and tricks to land interviews. And I know it works. The process works. But thank you so much for this opportunity. And it's so fun to chat with you.
Yes. And for everybody watching now or after the fact, Erin, you're going to go ahead and just comment on the video on our LinkedIn page with the links, various links, so people can just easily find you and connect with you, because I know there's a lot of job seekers out there. I meet with them every week. So if you are listening to this and you don't know about it, check out ladiesgetpaid.com/events. Every week I host a job seeker support group at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it is free. Oh, look, Amy said, Erin, you are amazing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you, Amy.
So,
you are too, I'm sure.
Love that. Always love to get some positive feedback. We know that we're not just speaking into the ether. There's real people out there. So thank you to Amy. And really appreciate you, everything you do. And yes, check out Erin's video course. It's also on ladiesgetpaid.com under courses. And with that, good luck. Now go get paid. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Claire.
you. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.